Why should speaker cabinets be dead?
Because somebody shot them and they're dead. I don't know.
Cedric Parker in Minneapolis, Minnesota writes to me and he says, "Hey Paul, why is resonance in speaker cabinets considered a bad thing? I've always thought of speaker cabinets as the body of an acoustic guitar." Okay, where you want some resonance. And I've been looking at this the wrong way. Wouldn't the resonance of the hardwood create a more natural sound in the lower frequency ranges as we might get in a guitar? Well, I think, Cedric, that's a really interesting question. And that's, as I think I said a couple of episodes ago, one of the things I truly love about doing this series where you ask me questions is I would never have considered that as something. I mean, as an engineer, I'm kind of stuck in a certain mindset. And then somebody says, hey, we're trying to reproduce the sound of musical instruments. And we know that musical instruments are built typically out of wood, and we depend on the resonances of that wood to create its sound. I mean, Stradivarius, years ago, back in whenever Stradivarius was around, 1700, 16, I don't know. Anyway, long time ago, when they built that, just even the varnishes that they used and the way it was shaped made all the difference in the world. Is why a Stradivarius violin is so valued, because of the resonances and the way it sounds. So, yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense that a wooden box cabinet for a speaker should also have some of those same characteristics. But no, that's not what we want to do. And so I'll try and explain why. We want the cabinet to have zero resonance, truly dead. A cement cabinet would be best. I picture it like if I took a freeway overpass. This is a silly analogy, but it's in my head and I'm silly. If I took a freeway overpass and a giant abutment and I drilled holes in that thing and I put in drivers and I stood back and I listened to it, ignoring the fact that we're not in a room, that would be the greatest cabinet, because no matter what I did, this 20 million ton cement thing could never be moved by these wimpy little drivers. Because what we want to hear is the sound of the driver itself. So speakers are complicated in that what they're trying to do is take an electrical signal and convert it to sound pressure that goes into our ears in an exact analog of the signal itself. So a perfect transducer is taking an electrical signal, pushing and pulling the air back and forth in exact harmony with that electrical signal, okay? And if for some reason it doesn't move exactly in the same way, or if it moves and then in addition more movement from the cabinet happens, then that's called distortion, because we're not trying to create resonances, we're not trying to create added sounds. What we want to do is make an exact analog copy of what we are feeding it, which is from the recording. And to the extent that we can connect your eardrum to the speaker's membrane and move these two together in perfect sync without any room interactions, without any cabinet resonances, without interference in any way, then we'll get a perfect transfer of electrical energy put into acoustic energy in all of its perfection. And that's what we're trying to do. So, of course, rooms are important, because we now have gotten so used to the sound of reproduced music within a room that the added resonances and reflections of a room are almost something we depend upon, and even though they are unnatural. If I have a guitar, and I'm in this room right now, and I'm starting to play my guitar, and I'm singing along. Well, the very first thing that's going to happen is you're going to hit stop on YouTube and say, what the hell's going on? Get this guy off YouTube. But anyway, sorry, couldn't resist. So anyway, if I'm playing along and singing, my voice is being picked up by a microphone, and everything in this room is going into that and then being recorded. Now, when I play it back, if it's really to sound exactly like it did when I was in this room, then you want to be able to reproduce that in exactly the same way and hit your ears without any added stuff. No resonances from the cabinet, no extra reflections from the room, which, unless you're outside, is going to be pretty hard to do. And even then, it won't sound right. So we've just gotten used to the sound of speakers playing in rooms, and we do everything we can to change that sound so that the reflections are confused. We use diffusers to do that, and any number of tricks. That's a whole different subject. We won't get into that. But I hope that answers your question. We don't want the same thing that a musician does when a string vibrates, and we depend on that resonance to create the sound in the first place. That's the last thing we want in a loudspeaker cabinet. Great question. Thank you very much. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.